So I started work in an adult store. So this is different, definitely different. And I think back to a girlfriend from about 15 years ago, maybe longer than that now, told me one time that she thought that my life would be an experiment. I guess makes me think of my personality shifts over all these years and a lot of what I've been through with depression and bipolar and maybe other things. I have not been diagnosed. I've often thought I have borderline personality disorder. It would match up to the way I do some things or have done some things. But I've had trouble holding jobs because of the depression that I've had. That's been severe at times. And while I do go to therapy, it's been baby steps digging out of the hole. But this job, I was just looking for something away from this tourist town for one thing. I live near a tourist town where I'm so effing burned out on it because they keep building crap on top of crap for one thing. It just seems to be, to me, the nature of what we do in America. I'm sure it goes on in other countries or other places too, but I know it goes on here. We build crap on top of crap on top of crap, take up land. It's a good thing we have protected parks and protected state parks, things like that. But even a park I go to, there's a place there used to be all kinds of land around it, and there's now this they're building crap right up to the border of that park. So it's like you can only escape it for so long unless you want to go live out in the woods. But anyway, near this tourist town, they just keep building stuff. So traffic lights keep getting built, and just driving, you don't know how long it's going to take you to get there. I literally live probably, maybe 15, 20 minutes for most of the stuff up there, but it could take you an hour, hour and a half. You never know day to day how long you might sit trying to get into a place. And then working in those places burned me out because it's like you could copy and paste the employees from one place to the other with the backstabbing and the let's just sleep with everybody we work with and let's just cause as much possible drama as we can, and including the managers causing as much drama as they can, the level of narcissism that a lot of them would have. And if you didn't go along with the program, you were in fights, a lot of battles, which I was. I was in a lot of battles with people, and it gets exhausting. But kissing ass would get exhausting. So you got that aspect of it. Then the driving, the employees that seem to be all the same in these places. And then you have the people coming in. I'm not saying there's not some nice people. I've encountered plenty of nice people, but I've also encountered tons of entitled pricks that travel. Yes, they travel, and some of them seem bound and determined to make the employees' lives a living hell in those places. It really does seem like that when you work long enough in the tourist industry. If you work in hospitality, I've done a little bit of that too, in hotels as well. Attractions, hotels, done a little bit of restaurant work. And I'll tell you the worst time for that, where it really burned me out, because I was telling you all, if you've watched the previous videos at all, this severe depression came on after a really bad breakup, the worst I had ever experienced. And on the heels of that, COVID happened as well. COVID literally happened like 4 months, maybe right after this happened to me. And it was kind of okay in a way where most of us got laid off from the job I was at the time, and we got unemployment. That was a good aspect for me, where the government was paying us a lot of extra money for the time we were off. But I was going through this severe depression, and we were all isolated. There's a ton of stuff I was going through. I was having ideation with unaliving, not wanting to be here. I was drinking more. My personality was shifting. I didn't know what was going on with me. I was having a lot of issues and not dealing well with life at all. But when we had to go back to work, it was awful, because there were mask mandates, and the people were so much worse that were traveling right at the time things were starting to open. And they wasn't opening everywhere. Just certain states were allowing more travel than others, some not at all. But we were one allowing it, but we had mask mandates in a lot of places. There were certain rules. Not everything was just wide open like it was. And the customers, they wanted to give you a living hell over it. In America, you would hear things like, "You're violating my American rights." It was that sort of thing. It was that kind of tone with a lot of these people. And, wanting to threaten you with physical violence over a mask, over things that we had no control of. We were just trying to do our job, had to go back to work. So all that stuff just burned me out, on top of this severe depression and things I was dealing with. And it got to where you take so many traumas in life, from people, from jobs, from breakups or abuses that you experience throughout your life. I talk about some of that in a couple of previous videos, but it just all weighs on you like a ton of bricks when you get older. Now I'm 49, and all that stuff just weighed on me so much that I didn't want to go anywhere. I've been isolated a lot in the last, not complete isolation, but I've been isolated a lot in the last 4.5 years for the most part. And finding a job has been one of those things of like, okay, what can I handle? I'm seeing a therapist. We talk about this too. What can I handle just to get back out there? What can I do with limited employee interaction or something different and get away from the tourist town? And so I also live near a city, and I just said, okay, let me go the other way toward the city. And that changes up the energy, and it does. You're driving a different direction. You're driving away from tourists. You're not going in that direction with them. You're going just to where people are just doing their daily life. There's no tourism. And I live in between the city and the tourist area. So basically that's what I did. I started looking for things I might could do over in the city. And the adult store was one of those things. And I said, well, I don't know how I would deal with that. And people have mixed reactions to that. And when I've went through spirituality, or I've done practices with that, I've questioned whether I should have any involvement with something like that. Not because of religion or, oh, I'm passing moral judgment on anyone. It's just because what I've noticed is that energy has vibration. So you can be in places where there's a higher vibe. You can be in places where there's a lower vibe, and you feel that. If you're in tune with it, you'll feel it. And I've also had issues with corn. I'm going to call it corn here so YouTube don't flag it, but I've had issues with that before. That's been one of my go-tos when I've wanted to dissociate and be left the F alone and just go into fantasy or whatever and just not think of anything else. And with anything, if you indulge too much in it, especially corn, you spike your dopamine so much, it can be detrimental. So I questioned, okay, whether I should do this, but I was like, well, it'll be something different. The work's not going to be that hard. And this place, literally, with me being hired, has 4 employees because they have you work mostly alone after you're trained. So it's just the fact, can you work around adult items, and you get different clientele. I've only done it a couple of days so far. Of course, as far as the items and stuff, I'm pretty immune to it, because when you've seen so much corn in your lifetime, and it's so accessible to us now on phones, computers, that stuff, I would say for most people, if you've seen enough of it, it just don't faze you that much. It's just a matter of, are you outgoing enough to talk about it with people? It's a little awkward at first, but it was really no big deal so far. It's just the people you could tell the people feel a little awkward, some of them that come in there. But you just have to be able to engage with them and help them out, whatever they're wanting to look for or buy. If they want to ask you, or they want to talk to you about what they're trying to look for or want. So I'm not saying I'll be there long. I don't know. It was just something that it doesn't seem to be much exertion in doing. And it's another life experience. It's kind of how I'm chalking it up, is I'm just chalking it up to all the many life experiences that I've had. And it's not like I didn't apply at a few other places. I did. They just didn't call me. So it's like, okay, we'll try this out. And so far, the coworkers I have worked with a little bit are nice as well. I will say the interesting thing too is it's so open-minded. The people I work with, you have to be open-minded. You're not going to work in an adult store and not be open-minded. I mean, how could you? I mean, you got to be able to just say, hey, people are shopping for some things are not so crazy, and then some things I've never seen before until now. Working in there. So we'll see how it goes, and maybe I'll do it for a little while, get back on my feet a little bit. I'm still looking for other things, see what else I can do as well. My life is just, it's been rough. It's been rough pulling up out of a hole. I'm behind on some things, and I'm usually not like that. I usually have my finances at least balanced, and right now I don't. And a lot of people get in a severe depression, and just everything goes to hell. And the reason is you just don't want to be here. You can get to a point, if it's severe enough, you're tired. You're so burned out from everything. You're just tired, and so many traumas have built up through your life. And if you haven't been doing therapy, you haven't been doing any of that stuff, and you suddenly just start going, like for me, after 20 something years, to go back and try to say, okay, I got to do this, because if I don't, I'm not going to be here. And that's really where it was headed. I wasn't going to be here because that's how bad I was feeling. Just how bad I was feeling. So my therapist is wonderful, and I'm very thankful to have met her. And she just, I feel I trust her. I can talk to her about whatever I need to talk about, and realize that this was the right move. But I'll tell you, if any of you are going through this sort of thing, if it is severe, you've been going through it a long time, you can't listen to anybody else try to tell you not to do it, or tell you you're messed up for even feeling the way you feel. That's just bullshit. because there are going to be people like that out there. I had a friend like that I haven't been talking to because of that. It's trying to tell me this stuff don't exist and all this crap. But unfortunately, there are people like that in this day and time that are still going to stigmatize. It happens a lot. It happens with men and women, but I know with men it definitely happens a lot. And all I can say is that you have to just not care about what other men. If you're a man going through this, you just can't care what they think, and you have to start looking internally about what you truly feel. Don't be worried about what these other people feel. And just know too, if they're stigmatizing you and they're putting you down and they're making fun or any of that stuff, they're trolling you, they've got problems. They've got problems. It's always going to be the case. People who troll others or people who are stigmatizing something, they're putting it down like that, especially when you're trying to get help for yourself so you can just, for one thing, stay alive. And that's the first and most important thing in severe depression is if you've been or having ideation with unaliving, things like that, the first mission is just knowing you're trying to find a way to live. That's the first thing. Going to therapy is going to be a first step to living again, and to talking about all these various things to start regaining your confidence and start regaining your control of yourself. And the other thing is to be honest, because you have to be honest, because there's no point of even going if you're not going to be honest. So honesty is how the therapist is also going to help you with strategy. And luckily for me too, with the trust I have with my therapist, she's helping me not only regain my confidence in who I truly am, not a fake character, but be who I want to be and feel how I want to feel, and not give a shit what this guy says here or this girl says here or whatever, because I have a right to feel inside how I want to be and how I feel. And I've become aware of that finally. It's taken a long time. It's hard for so many of us to break through conditioning and to break through worrying about what our family thinks, what this person at work thinks, what this friend might think. Some people are true friends, but then you got those quote friends, right? That they're only friends as long as you've always followed their same philosophy, even if you didn't believe in it. There's people with spouses like that. There's people married to people like that, and they wouldn't be married or with that person in some cases if they truly were themselves. I'm not saying there's not people that aren't together that are truly happy, but that's because they are truly honest with each other. But you got some people married in relationships that one person's just kissing the other's ass, believing in everything they believe in to stay in that relationship. What kind of life is that? It isn't a life. It's you being a fake individual for the sake of staying in something that's not truly happiness or love. So anyway, I'm going to work in this adult store for now, and I do think life is funny in ways, the way things turn out sometimes, things you thought never would happen, never would take place. You give it a shot, take the next step, and then take another step. And if one thing don't work, try something else. And don't let people stigmatize what you're doing. As long as you're doing what's best for yourself, that's what's important. So I'm going to end it here, and I'll talk to you all I'm sure soon in another video. Bye.